Liz Getzel, and I'm with the Rehabilitation Research and Training Center at Virginia Commonwealth University. And today I am with Erica Lovelace, Higher Education Coordinator for the Division of Rehabilitative Services in Virginia. And we're going to be talking about collaboration. I know, Erica, that you've had a lot of experience over the years with collaboration, and just wanted to have you start with some initial thoughts about the importance of it.
Okay. One thing that you might want to consider is, we've all heard the phrase, no man is an island. It certainly is true when we're talking about collaboration and working with students on a college campus. Imagine, if you will, a baseball team that only has one player, and that player has aspirations to make it to the playoffs and maybe even go beyond that to the World Series. Chances are they're not going to be very successful with just one person. However, if you open the field and you bring on other players that have varied degrees of expertise and experience and resources, all of a sudden you've really increased the benefits to that one person, and the team is probably going to do very well and may have a contention at winning the World Series. The same can be said for working with individuals with disabilities on a college campus. Over the years, I've had many opportunities to work with university staff. And I found that it was very important that we shared information and that we work collaboratively to help individuals with disabilities achieve in a learning environment, if you will.
The baseball team is a great analogy to really focus on how important each member of a team can play. And I know through all your experiences on a college campus that you can really appreciate how significant the benefits are for collaborating.
Absolutely, Liz. One of the things that I've learned is that working collaboratively on a college university campus is that there's so much information that is available and can be shared with the players, and that by doing that sharing, we've increased the success rate for individuals with disabilities, particularly individuals that have ASD.
Being a vocational rehabilitation counselor and working on college campuses, how did you decide, or what approach did you use to really engage members in the college community?
One of the first things that I realized was, even though as a VR counselor I had a great deal of information available on the consumer that I was working with, it became very clear early on in the whole process that there were some missing pieces to just the consumer and I collaborating. I looked around the college campus and wanted to see what types of resources might be available. And it occurred to me very quickly that the person that I needed to get in touch with was the Disability Support Services counselor. It was imperative that we established the collaboration between the consumer, the DSS counselor, and myself. And that's how the process began for me. We established a time to meet. We went over all of the documentation that I was able to provide, being a vocational rehabilitation counselor. That information was very helpful to the Disability Support Services counselor in trying to determine what types of accommodations might be necessary and would benefit the individual in their classroom endeavors.
Is it fair to assume, Erica, that you met with the DSS individual more than one time, that it wasn't just sort of a one-time meeting and all of that planning, or was it done so that there were subsequent meetings for the student and with the student?
Absolutely. In our combined efforts in collaborating with the individual that we were working with, we realized that for a lot of individuals, the college experience is very new and that you can't plan ahead of time for everything. One of the things that we realized was that during the course of this semester, a consumer/student might run into some difficulties and may have some challenges that they didn't know how to overcome. So we built into our whole collaboration process that we would allow an opportunity to have subsequent meetings. One of the things that we realized was that so oftentimes the students were overwhelmed with the amount of reading that needed to be done, having to spend so many hours outside of the classroom studying. And we recognized that assistive technology was going to be very beneficial in helping that individual be successful. At that point in time, by establishing subsequent meetings, we were able to bring in a rehab engineer or a vocational evaluator that had the expertise in working with assistive technology and could work with the student, the Disability Support Services counselor, and myself as the VR counselor, and try to come up with what types of assistive technology would most benefit the individual, and then making arrangements to acquire that technology and actually provide some training on the use of the technology.
It sounds like you built a terrific team for college students with disabilities through your experience with the DSS Office, Disability Support Service Office, as well as with bringing, as you said, assistive technology into it. Looking back, do you think there were other individuals that really needed to be sitting around that table and collaborating?
Oh, absolutely. I think in hindsight is always 20/20. And looking back, I really wish that we would have brought in one of the most important members on a college university, and that would be somebody from the Career Center staff. The reason for that would be that those are the individuals that have all of the information about employment. They're very much aware of what the changes in the global economy are. They know where the job market is growing more quickly. They also know what employers are looking for. What kind of an individual are they looking to employ?
You know, Erica, something that has come out of a lot of the survey work that we've done in order to develop these modules, we surveyed vocational counselors, we surveyed career center staff, we surveyed DSS, Disability Support Service offices, and we did do some structured interviews with students with ASD as well, just to learn about this whole collaborative career planning process, if you will. And what several individuals came back with is that they really, professionals, that they really felt collaboration was important. I think that was very much something that came out very strongly. Yes, collaboration is very important. However, there seems to be some obstacles to that. Some mention time restraints, you know, looking at can I meet with the team all the time, you know, and be able to fit that in my schedule. Continued communication. Maybe you had one or two meetings and then nothing sort of happened after that. Or they had they weren't sure about maybe their roles and responsibilities or sort of what their common goal would be, which to my mind, I think what we're talking about is that sort of that common goal is the college student with disability, in particular the student with ASD.
You know, in the years that I was developing collaborative approaches working with students with disabilities, that was the first thing that everybody said, oh, we don't have time for this. This is going to take way too much time out of my schedule, and I just can't fit it in. What we learned was spending that time actually saved time. By getting together, meeting collaboratively, working toward one common goal, we were able to really utilize all of our individual resources collaboratively. And by being able to work together as a team, it actually ended up taking less time. Instead of my meeting with the consumer and giving the individual information as to, you need to go back to the Disability Support Services office and this is what you need to ask for. By meeting collaboratively, we took care of those individual meetings. So we met one time. Another thing that we benefited from was everybody had the same information at the same time. So there wasn't a lot of miscommunication by having individual meetings. We actually accomplished so much more. We worked toward a common goal. We not only saved time, we saved dollars in terms of sharing the resources that we had, and we weren't constantly reinventing the wheel. We were all working on the same sheet of music, if you will, and working toward a common goal. And I agree that a lot of people are going to say, gee, we really don't have time for that. We don't have the luxury of having all of those meetings. I implore people to just try it, and the benefits are going to be so outnumbering the challenges and the negative aspects. And keep in mind that there's no one approach to collaboration. every team is going to be different because you have different team members, and you're going to build that team based on the needs of the individual that you're working with, the resources, the expertise that the different members bring to that table. So it is really, really beneficial to take the time to work collaboratively, and the end result will be a significant positive impact for the students that we're serving.